What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 714 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, hot tags of the week. You know how this goes. We're going to break down what we feel like talking about that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days and anything in the sports entertainment realm that we feel like talking about. And of course, if you don't know who we are, I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
What happens on Smark Moment stays on Smark Moment.
Rob DeFelice.
Surrender to us or be destroyed.
Nobody's going to get these jokes, but it's okay.
It doesn't matter.
It makes us laugh. So, if you are, of course, listening to us, then we also want to know what you have to say too. So drop your thoughts in the comment section below, or anything else that you are listening to us on, whatever those platforms have any kind of comments or something. That's where you can chat it up too. Also keep in mind the Discord server that we have for you to just chat up anything on those different channels at any point. Go ahead and join them over on the sidebar at smarkmoment.com, or the link below on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, though, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and get your email alerts set up for the post shows. Now, we had a whole stint of, flurry of different pay-per-views, but we're on a little bit of a break, thankfully, for, 2 weeks or so before we get into Heat Wave. Will be the next one. And then Forbidden Door, and then we got Clash in Paris, and then so on and so forth. And then September, I don't know what's going to happen in September. It's going to be kind of like a dead zone. But get those set up, and make sure that also, if you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, toss a little spare change our way through the thanks button. Click on the join button. Same thing as the Patreon, patreon.com/smarkoutmoment. Whether it's the Darkcast tier, the Pick Your Poison tier, or even just $1 a month, it's all greatly, greatly appreciated. And the Redbubble and TeePublic merchandise shops, where you can pick up your merchandise. That's why they are merchandise shops. So, quick mention of some congrats to Brindley Reese and to Darby Allin. Darby Allin apparently proposed to his girlfriend on the summit of Mount Everest. I'm assuming she said yes, because the news report would be like differently if it was
if I was getting engaged to on the summit of Mount Everest, I would say yes, because what's the alternative? It's going to be a long climb down, or a very fast climb down.
So there's a whole thing on the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because of the implication. It's just like, your alternative: say yes, come here, give me a hug, or turn around and And also Brindley Reese getting engaged to, we don't know who these people are because they're not other people in pro wrestling, but, congrats to Brindley Reese and to Darby Allin.
So Darby, I read it real quick. He was on the Steve-O podcast and told the story. He apparently first met this girl in high school. And he always had a crush on her. And they reconnected 14 years later. And he says that they started reading like some love language book, and she likes the words of affirmation, and he struggles with that. So it took him to get to the top of Mount Everest. And that's when he said, "The top of the world's so beautiful, but not as beautiful as you. Will you marry me?" And I think that's actually rather sweet. So good on Darby. And maybe now that he's getting remarried, he won't try to off himself in everything he does.
We got some other, totally just off the wall random stories going on this week and all, but big story we're going to save till the end here of WWE is switching over to Peacock, from Peacock over to ESPN. We're going to save that for after we get through the TV talk and everything. Outside of the TV talk stuff, we do have, unfortunately, there's a story here about Jonathan Gresham, that he suffered 2 strokes the other day, which that's upsetting in more than one way. Obviously, it sucks when anybody has any kind of thing going on like that, but 37 years old, he's younger than I am, and to just have that happen out of nowhere, yikes. So he's obviously taking some time away from pro wrestling to, deal with that. The one report that I had read about it was like Jordan Grace wasn't even like at home when it had happened, so she was like watching Jonathan Gresham get taken away on like their ring camera while she was like flying from Atlanta or something, I think. And hopefully he bounces back, and it's just one of those things where it's like, there's no real long-term effects or anything, but man, It's not been a good couple of years for Jonathan Gresham, it seems. And this is the worst out of all of the things.
Yeah, that's genuinely so scary because he's only a few years older than Callum and I, and it's, a guy who looks in great shape. You'd think he's relatively fit, and you would never think 2 strokes, and he can't move the left side of his body for quite some time at the age of 37. And of course, God knows that must have been terrifying for Grace because she's just, traveling to NXT or whatever and has to, deal with that. That's really scary.
Yeah, not very much else to say other than like as a get well soon for him. Like no one should have to suffer that, especially at such a young age compared to like when most people would suffer strokes. That's usually like something that you associate with like men in their older age. So yeah, it's a scary situation for someone who does appear to be, or has always appeared to be in great shape and in great physical condition. So yeah, it's a sobering moment, I think, for a lot of people.
Hopefully good news and updates coming forward at that story. He had just wrestled pretty recently too. There was like a couple days ago or so from at least one report about like August 2nd or something. He had.
Yeah, no, he did Bloodsport on Saturday or Sunday and had the strokes on Tuesday.
Insane.
Yes. I mean, they're saying that at least for now, that there was no kind of, they may not know a definitive cause for it, or they may not be able to find an exact reason for what happened. The only possible explanation that was offered were complications from a severe COVID case that Gresham contracted several weeks ago prior to that. So, but yeah, so we don't know, if we don't know what the reason is, that makes it kind of even more scary in a way. But hopefully, it's just you hope it's just a one-off thing and he can return to the ring as soon as possible.
I'll tell you what, every COVID story I've heard about a wrestler is fucking scary. Taking the life of Wyatt, Keith Lee's long-term health issues, and now this. COVID is no joke,
man. Jake Hager announced that he is retired from pro wrestling and that he is running like a trucking business or something now, but then also did the typical thing, which I'm not at all surprised to, and I would do the same thing if I was in his shoes. So the whole like, I'm retired, wink, never say never. I'm trying to build up my my asking rate, whatever. It's been a while since he had done anything. He apparently had left AEW in part because he felt insulted by the offer of the contract renewal, which I'm curious what that would have been too, because to be perfectly honest, I don't think that Jake Hager was in a position that he could have been demanding a lot to renew his contract. He had been slowly but surely whittled away and replaced on the roster with other people that were going to be more important going forward and were just bigger deals and bigger investment. I don't blame Tony Khan for not wanting to spend a whole lot of money to keep Jake Hager around. And I'm sure Jake Hager wanted to have a lot of money because everybody wants to. It's kind of the whole point of, debating about money is you give me more for less. No, you give me more for less. And then you find a middle ground somewhere where you don't. Like the Aisha in my emails, pain in the ass. It's gonna throw people under the bus like that.
I guess he's starting a trucking company named Hall and Oates, and I've changed my mind. Give him all the money, give him the belt, because I think Hall and Oates is a great name for a trucking company.
It depends. Are they only transporting oats?
I imagine they might be exclusively Hall and Oates.
So you think that he was like, I think I could try to do like a trucking company. Let's try to think of a name. Or do you think that he was like, I got this name. What can we do with that?
Or maybe Tony Khan told him he was out of touch and out of time.
Well, if Jake Hager does return in any fashion to pro wrestling, even if it's a one-off or something like that, is there any kind of like a big retirement match or something you guys could imagine would make sense, or something that would be like, yeah, I think that that's a good send-off for him or whatever? Nothing comes to my mind immediately as far as like, I would like to see Jake Hager versus so-and-so or whatever.
The best thing he ever did was with Jericho. in the inner circle. Like that was his best run. He was a top guy in AEW, and he liked his hat. So I guess I would say Jake Hager in the hat against the Eagle, right? Like put somebody in the Eagle suit, let Jake Hager work out his demons.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, like, it would have to be some wrestler that has a hat, probably, to be the opponent. Like,
They'd have to
hat
like
versus
that.
hat, or a hat on a pole match or something. I'm trying to think of good
Buff
wrestlers.
Bagwell wants to wrestle again, even though he got his leg amputated, and he used to have a hat. Maybe that's going to turn into that. Bring that hat back.
I feel like put in a poll if that was the case. Yeah, mate. Why not that then? Because like that just seems to be. I don't necessarily need to see Jake Hager ever wrestle.
I mean,
again.
realistically, like, look, I was a huge Jack Swagger fan up until about 20 after he fought Del Rio at that Mania. I was like, all right, it's not going to be, but I was a huge Jack Swagger fan before that. He came in with a lot of buzz. For a while, he was doing some good stuff. He fell off like everybody from that generation did, like the Swaggers, the Zigglers, the Mizes, like he fell off and had a little resurgence in AEW, fell off again. It doesn't click for everybody, unfortunately. And I think he might just be one of those people.
So obviously in the future, if he ends up popping up somewhere or whatever, we'll talk about that when it happens. Any quick updates for the G1? Do you want to mention any kind of I don't know, now somebody standing out or something?
Let me get this up then. So there's only 2 more main block nights before we get into the playoff, semi-finals, and final next week. Right now, it's still very difficult to tell, even with only just 1 match in each block left, because there's still 8 people that can qualify from Block A and 7 people that qualify from Block B out of the 10 that started. So, yeah, this is how they work. This is how they do things, or like how they do things some of the time, to make sure there's enough jeopardy about these things. At least they plan this stuff out to a degree. So, Block A, the front runners at the moment are you, both on 10 points each. Then you have a whole group of people on 8 points, which are Yota Tsuji, Bolton Oleg, Ryohei, Callum Newman, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and David Finlay, all on 8 points. The final matches for that thing are Yuta Mora versus David Finlay, so Finlay has to win that match to have a chance of qualifying. Taichi versus Bolton Oleg. Bolton's the only one that can advance from that one, so I imagine Taichi will win because Bolton is a champion right now, and so I don't think he's going to be winning the G1 or even qualifying. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Evil. Tanahashi needs to win to keep his hopes alive. If Evil wins, he's definitely through, so stakes on that one. Yota Tsuji, Callum Newman, both on the same points, so if Yota wins, then he probably goes through. If Callum Newman wins, he probably goes through. And then weirdly, the main event of the show is Ryohei Oiwa versus Sanada, which seems bizarre to make that the main event, considering Sanada can't qualify, and Oiwa isn't really seen as someone who would be a big pick to win this tournament. So, but either way, if it was up to, if I'm looking at this current layout now, I would say that the likelihood is that it's going to be Uemura, Evil, and probably Yota Tsuji going through in Block A. And then in Block B, we've got Zack Sabre Jr. is at the front with 12 points. I think that means that he's not mathematically certain to go through, I don't think. Yeah, because the 3 people beneath him could win their matches, but I think he's pretty much certain to go through to the next round. And then you've got Ren Narita, Shota Umino, and Konosuke Takeshita behind him, all on 10 points, and then Yoshihashi, Drillman, Great Okan, 8 points. Both Shingo Takagi and El Phantasmo are out of contention, which is a bit surprising from Takagi's perspective, but I think that in this one it's pretty more straightforward for me, that I think it's going to be Zack Sabre Jr., Shota Umino, and Konosuke Takeshita that are going to be the ones that like to go through. Takeshita's facing Narita, so the winner of that match will definitely go through. Great Okan versus Shota Umino. Shota's probably going to win that match. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Yoshihashi. Zack will likely get the victory there, but it doesn't really matter either way with Yoshihashi's involvement. And then again, weirdly, like the main event appears to be Shingo Takagi versus Driller Manoni, which is odd because Driller's not going through and Shingo's already out. So maybe that's just the way they've ordered it on Wikipedia. Maybe they've got a different plan in mind for what the actual main event will be. But yeah, at the moment, I'd say that the likely 6 people that will go through to the playoffs are Yuya Uemura, Evil, Yota Tsuji, Zack Sabre Jr., Shota Umino, and Konosuke Takeshita. That seems to be the direction they're heading.
When is it that they normally settle on like the other matches for Wrestle Kingdom? Because obviously when the G1's over, you know essentially what the main event's going to be, but then they do have a few more months. And January's not that far off, but still it's not like it's next month. Do they usually kind of really... like is it like another event or two in between that kind of does that?
Well, there's usually multiple like events that are main evented by other title matches in between. So let's put this. So for instance, we've had I mentioned him earlier. Bolton Oleg is the current never open mic champion, and in this G1, he's been defeated by Evil, David Finlay, Yota Tsuji, and Yuya Uemura, which means that those are 4 potential title challenges for him in between now and Wrestle Kingdom, or potentially one at Wrestle Kingdom as well. So you've got to kind of look at the who's winning and losing matches on these shows to get a sense of what the title picture is going to look like for other championships. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is current world champion. He's lost to let me just look here. He's lost to Ren Narita and Shota Umino throughout this thing, so those are 2 potential title matches that you could have as well between title events between now and Wrestle Kingdom. And also, we don't even know, because based on last year's precedent, this might not even be Wrestle Kingdom's main event.
That's true.
Because Zack didn't have the match. We did end up main eventing Wrestle Kingdom, but it was due to his G1 when he went into Kingdom as the champion last year. So yeah, I don't know what the plan is realistically. I think there's a good possibility, and this is just pure speculation at this point, that I think they're going to do Zack Sabre Jr. versus Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. And if they do that, I think there's a good chance that Ospreay wins the title.
That could be, yeah. I mean,
because he's not taking it off Hangman anytime soon. I know there's the MJF thing as well, but I think that's still like bubbling for a while. I think that like he's probably not going after Okada just yet, and would seem weird for him to drop down to the like TNT Championship at that sort of level, like, especially because it's Cole Fletcher as well, and they've already had their long feud earlier this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just takes the New Japan title for a little while and just holds that and holds it into Wrestle Kingdom to make it a bit more of a interesting main event with whoever wins the G1.
It's gonna be Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita.
I'm not gonna say no to that. And the technical thing they could say is, well, even though Takeshita is signed with AEW, he is also signed to New Japan. Yeah, so it's technically a New Japan guy versus an AEW guy. It's a New Japan AEW T guy versus an AEW guy that used to work for New Japan.
It's like, it's not quite a forbidden door. It's more like the window is left open.
And also, it doesn't necessarily have to be the main event, because there's a good chance they'll main event Wrestle Kingdom with whatever she's final matches. So
that's true.
Yeah. So as I say, we wait and see how this goes. I mean, who knows? There's still a chance that Tanahashi goes through and still wins this G1. So until then, I won't entirely give up on my idea that he's going to win the whole thing, and they're going to use Wrestle Kingdom as like his final shot at the title in his final match. But the more I'm looking at it, the more unlikely I think that is. So, but yeah, that's your current G1 update, and as by next week we'll know who's in the semi-finals, not the final just yet, but we'll know who's in the semi-final.
Cool. Yeah, I really haven't kept up too much with it, and the more the more it's like, okay, it's really not what it used to be.
No, from what I've gathered of what I've seen of people that are actually reviewing the shows and actually watching the matches, there's only been one match that would be considered like a great match from G1s of like 4 or 5 years ago, which is Shingo Takagi versus Konosuke Takeshita, which is unsurprising considering the two names involved. But yeah, apparently that's the only one that's really lived up to the billing of the G1.
Let's switch over to, I guess, TV talk, and then we can come back around to some of the other things.
All right, so should Callum to watch SummerSlam? Do you want to go through SummerSlam?
I'm aware what happened, if that's what you're talking about.
I mean, yeah, we all know.
What? He came back?
We all know about Brock, but I was going to say, did you want to give your thoughts on anything else on the show? But you didn't watch.
Nah.
I'll just say really quickly, I thought that TLC match was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun with that. I thought the Punk Gunther match was fine. The Rollins cash-in was nice for the people there. Trying to think if there's anything else that really, really stood out before I talk about the Cena match. The Jacob Fatu match was a bit of a disappointment. A lot of interference, which I hate in cage matches because it's a cage match. Stop doing that. Jade Cargill lost and lost quickly. That's something that stood out to me. I really thought she was going to win, and she lost right quick.
Yeah, that's a very odd. Like, why did you spend the effort and time doing the whole Queen of the Ring thing and then being like, all right, well, we don't really have anything for you, but we'll wait and we'll figure it out at SummerSlam. And anyway, you just lose. Like, very strange.
The triple threat women's title match between Rhea, Io, and Naomi. Fun stuff. Glad Naomi got to have her dad play her to the ring. Clearly a special moment for them. The Roman tag match, I thought kind of sucked because I was like, you built the whole thing around Braun and Roman, and then the big moment is Jay pins Reed. It just, like, am I supposed to care? I know the whole thing is, well, Roman sacrificed himself. That's still not an apology for being a narcissistic abuser for 4 years. Apologize to your family, damn it. Like, that story makes no sense to me. Is there anything I'm missing before we talk about Cena?
If it is, then it'll come up when we talk about the other things.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not really long in the memory. I thought the Cena Cody match, while it danced on the grave of finishing maneuvers, I thought it was the best match Cena's had in this run. It was a lot of fun, and I found myself genuinely sad that he didn't retain the title.
I'd go so far as to say it's the best match he's had in like 10 years. There's
an argument to be made it's his best match since at least AJ at the Rumble in 2017.
Right.
Then there's Brock. And look, before we get into the problematic, WWE keeps digging themselves into a hole in terms of public perception. Before that, I want to talk a little bit about the television on-screen ramification storyline purposes of this, because why? Right? Because if Cena wins and he retains the title, whether he swerves on Cody or not, he can literally say, all right, we got 12 more of these. Send me somebody, because the real John Cena's back, and if you want some, come get some. And Brock Lesnar's music hits, then at least you go, well, I guess it's Brock and Cena for the title at some point in this run, whether it's Paris or Australia or whatever the hell it's going to be. But the way you do it just says you picked up the red bat phone, you called Brock Lesnar to do what? To beat Cena's ass for no real reason whatsoever? Like, it makes no sense from a TV perspective. And I know everybody's going to say, nobody cares about the TV perspective. You know, people are upset that Brock's back when he's implicated in a sex misconduct lawsuit. And the other people are happy that he's back because it triggers the other people. No one's talking about the TV show. I just wanted to talk about the TV show for 2 seconds. But yeah, let's talk about why this is a stupid idea. Oh yeah. I mean, did anything I say there, am I wrong?
No.
In any way?
No, and I, on the podcast review for night 2, basically said all that stuff and gave my whole middle finger to this administration and everything that goes along with that.
That's another thing. They showed the fucking Trump and Triple H things a couple of times, and it's like, stop showing that. If you want people to talk about the good parts of your show, stop showing this shit, and maybe people will go, "Oh, the TLC was great."
That's the delusional thing where they think that. I mean, it's the same as everything else when it comes to this. That side of people, they're not only terrible and all that stuff, but they legitimately think that they are like, this is something to be proud of and this is something to be happy for. And it's like, well, yeah, we want to support these people that do these things. Like Hegseth were saying today that women shouldn't vote. And it's like, you motherfuckers, like,
That happened?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's everybody's evil. And it's like, if you were duped into thinking that he was going to lower the egg prices and you're stupid enough that that's the only thing that was important to you and you threw out your morals or whatever like that, there's time for you to be the one that throws up the flag and starts there's a quote, go ahead and look it up about hoisting the black flag. I won't say the rest of it.
Look, the doubling down on the certain seedy shit is starting to really bother me.
And I hate with a passion fucking Paul Heyman's, you're not going to be able to cancel Brock Lesnar. Everybody should just move on. Everybody has critics. That's not an excuse, motherfucker. Yes, okay. Everybody has critics, but there's a big difference between having a critic and people not necessarily loving you and having shit like that.
I think Heyman's still,
still working.
Trying to make sure that, hey, in case Seth's knee goes sideways again, I can show up on TV the next week and go, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. I'm the advocate for the conqueror, Brock Lesnar.
He lost so much respect for me by saying that.
Like, I don't fucking understand what we're doing here. And then you have the 5 reports that come out and go, WWE Legal cleared it. Obviously, they cleared it. The man wasn't even mentioned in Paul Heyman's Hall of Fame video package. Obviously, they cleared it. Otherwise, they would have never mentioned Brock Lesnar, let alone brought him back to TV. But
it's also telling that Triple H is all like, well, John Cena wanted it, and Cena's like, listen, I'm just doing what they asked me to do. And it's like, so that this is not something you're trying to pass the buck on that, but
well, that's another one that I think John's working. What the fuck is John gonna do? Yeah, I asked him to have Brock Lesnar come out and kick my ass. John's doing the whole good guy John thing where he goes, well, they put him in front of me and now I'm gonna have to see how I handle this. I'm sure John asked to fight Brock Lesnar. From a history's perspective, it makes sense. My thing is like, God, you're just really planting your fucking flag of like, yep, we don't care, bitch and moan all you want. We're going to do what we're going to do. But it's okay, guys, because they got $1.6 billion or whatever to fucking put their shit on ESPN. So they're going to continue winning, and all we can do is be angry about it. And there is a part of me that is defeated in that sense. Because, like, I don't want to just be another voice in the void that's being... It's just so frustrating that, like, for the crowd that goes, stop putting your wrestling, politics in my wrestling. I would fucking love to. I would also love to not have to think about all of this shit every time I try to do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, motherfucker, we're out of another mainline show and no one's talking about the goddamn show. It's all about like, oh, we got him. Yeah, be mad. You can't cancel Brock Lesnar. It's very frustrating for me. That's all I can say for now.
So on the TV recap side of things, did you have some toss out?
Well, so like, there's only so much you can really add to it because I think the whole situation is WWE just doing something which they absolutely just didn't need to do, but felt they had to, whether it is just John Cena's request or just thought, oh, we're making this SummerSlam a big deal because like there's going to be some big surprise returns, like Seth comes back from his quote-unquote injury. and have Brock come back at the same time as well, and can make both nights have like big moments at the end of it where it's like, oh, you didn't see that coming. I think it's more telling, like the stuff with the like Triple H's involvement with the Trump stuff and everything else around it. Brock came back. Everything, like, this company's played its hand about which side of the fence it sits on, and it's not being shy about it in a way that it might have been beforehand. Like, it was a bit like, no, treading between the lines a little bit more. Now it's very much in your face. This is our audience. This is who we appeal to. Like, and if you don't follow the same mindset, then we don't care. And the likelihood is you're still going to watch anyway because that's what you sheep do.
And how much of that is, like, let's talk about the TKO aspect of all that, because how much of that really is just like, well, it's actively working with the UFC.
Well, yeah, the UFC loved Brock as well, so it's like there's nobody.
No,
there's probably nobody.
I mean.
Well, yeah, so there's probably nobody in that position that like is against the idea of Brock coming back, or if they are, they're like smaller level people. Like, I imagine people at the top were probably wanted Brock back pretty much immediately as soon as it became even feasible to do so. I think it's more of a case of they do this moment and they don't really care about the small time blowback that they'll get for it because they realise that it will just disappear over time. These sort of things, at least in their mind, don't have lasting ramifications. And to be fair, like, you could argue that through the history of WWE in general, that it won't have lasting ramifications. That they'll just like soldier on and move on with it because they just want Brock back. Apparently, they've been still in paying Brock this entire time, but deep down they know it's a bad move, or at least it's a contentious PR move, because otherwise they wouldn't have cancelled the press conference. And they only cancelled the press and they only cancelled the press conferences because they're bringing Brock back. That's the reason they did it for this show. This is the reason why that decided to happen, because Triple H knows, and they probably know based on previous experiences, that whenever he's asked a hard question that he doesn't have a prepared answer for, he's going to crumble, because that's what he does, where he's going to get super defensive and angry, and that's what his response is. He always gives the worst answers to questions that he's not prepared for. So they didn't want to do that.
That's why there's a real big responsibility for every type of reporter and every type of media person in this type of climate. And that's why even we talk about it on this show. I'm certainly not in that kind of position. I wish I would be in a position to do this myself. But like, if you are against this whole takeover of everybody losing their rights and everybody being terrible and all this, like, well, you just got to succumb to miserable people being fucking awful bigots and all this other kind of stuff, it's on you as reporters and media personnel and all. If you're in a position to do that, you have to be asking those questions. Like, you deserve to corner Triple H when he's promoting this ESPN deal and go, so I want to ask you about this. You have a lot of stuff that's been happening with, Linda McMahon, and you had this whole thing with Donald Trump or whatever. Do you believe that women should have the right to vote, unlike the Secretary of Defense, who is associated with all these same people that you are? And just be like, yeah, go ahead and admit that you support these terrible people and have the company get their hits from it. Like, it's accountability, and you make a bed and sleep in it with a bunch of terrible people, then you deserve to get the backlash for that. And so I'm not going to stop on this podcast or on articles or anything, and the people that bitch and complain about it being like, by the way, and here's this terrible thing that they're doing and all. It's the same as how we can't have a discussion about Chris Benoit without being like, man, Chris Benoit will be in a different story of a discussion if he hadn't have been a fucking murderer.
If he hadn't murdered his child. And his
if he would have just killed himself, it would have been like, wow, what a tragedy. And it's a shame that this guy didn't get help. You kill your kid and you killed your wife, and now you're a piece of shit. And the same when it comes to this. It's like, I don't like Brock being back at all. Number one, I don't like it for the political stuff. Number two, I don't like it for the morality of the whole thing. Number three, I feel bad for the women in the locker room, because this company essentially just told them, look, we either think that you should shut the fuck up and we don't care about your safety, or we think that your safety is not as important as the money. And either way, we don't care about you. And that's terrible. But I also, what Rob had said, I don't think that this is a good story either. So even if you would be like, which I don't think, and some people they would make this agreement, this is not something that I would do. Some people would be like, yeah, but is the story worth it? I don't think so. In any scenario, even if it's the best story that's ever fucking happened, I don't think it's worth it to compromise your morals. But it's not even a great story yet, because it was just, well, why is Brock going after John Cena? Is it just because they wanted to have that match? Yeah. Okay, well then I don't fucking care. I've seen it. I saw it twice. It was more interesting when we saw it the first time.
Because, look, if you'd have told me, again, Cena wins, Brock comes out, and then at least your brain is going, right? Like, well, Brock can beat him for the championship, and then maybe you're getting to, maybe the ultimate goal here is Gunther Lesnar, or maybe Heyman has Rollins cash in on Lesnar. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can at least play with the idea of what if. But this way, it's just like, you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing out of this from a TV perspective. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not liking this new era of, oh, but nobody cares about the story. It's all about the viral moment and the wow factor. Because it's like, why are you making me watch 7 hours of a show? And I hate these fuckers. No one is making you. All right, fine. Let me change the language. You're asking people to watch a 7-hour show. Why, if the stories don't matter anymore? And you're just doing big matches?
I mean, just in general, when people do the whole, like, nobody's forcing you to watch thing, of course, nobody's 100% forcing you to watch. But, you know, in the case of, like, just being a fan and having entertainment and stuff, you have every right to complain if the thing that you find entertaining is not entertaining or whatever. People bitch and complain about football. You know, it's not like pro wrestling is any different from that. So, you know, that's the type of, you never hear that kind of argument from people that aren't just roundabout saying that they support the thing, that what it is. It's the, I prefer not to say that I support this thing because I was told yes, no, or I prefer not to say. And the real answer is yes, but I don't want to say that because I want to have plausible deniability when it comes to that. It's, you know what it is? If anybody is out there going, nobody's forcing you to watch, you're a fucking pussy. And you can't admit that you're the terrible person and just own up to it. You're a shitty person who also has no fucking spine. So you're even worse in some ways. So those people, anyway, outcasting those that are listening, which, you know, a good fucking riddance if you're listening and you were that type of person anyway. But yeah, nobody's forcing you to continue listening to this podcast either. So Monday Night Raw had opened up with Rollins and Heyman and a whole thing, starting off the LA Knight thing. Later on in the night, Seth Rollins beats LA Knight by DQ with interference from CM Punk. Seems like we are going to go with the name division for the group now. Thankfully, they have a fucking name. I'm tired of writing out Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. So
no, this pissed me off because week number 1, when Rollins did the promo where he's like, this is the vision, and the vision is the vision of the vision.
And my favorite MCU character is Vision. And
I was like, all right, guys, are we calling Vision in articles? No, they haven't said that. It's clearly the Vision.
Yeah.
It's clear. I don't know why they took 3 months to get it cleared or whatever, but like, it was clearly the Vision. I'm glad they have a name now. I don't know how I like Paul Heyman being Oracle. I prefer Barbara Gordon, but it's working.
Yeah, so we're continuing a lot of that. It's a lot of it's, you know, the same stuff continuing here and there. There was the Rusev and Sheamus match draw by a double count out. There's been a lot of things lately in WWE for the past couple of months or so where one show will do something and then another show will do almost the exact same thing on that same week. And it's almost like, I forget if I put this in an article or if I put this as like a quick mention on a podcast or something, but it kind of feels to me like people are cheating off of each other's work. Like the writers were like, you know what, that does sound like a good idea. I'm going to do that on NXT. Because Sheamus and Rusev have a big fight, and it leads to, you know, a couple segments throughout the show where they're fighting. Lash Legend and Nia Jax did the exact same thing the next night on NXT. So somebody's just going, I like that idea. Let's just copy and paste. The women's tag team titles changing hands. That had happened at SummerSlam. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair beat Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. And then they had a rematch as the, you know, roundabout, let's try to win the titles back thing. Bliss and Flair retain.
You know what's the most interesting thing? And you can tell me if I'm just completely getting worked here, but like Charlotte seems genuinely taken aback by the fact that people are happy to see her.
I think it's legit. I think she's just like, oh my God, are they finally cheering me?
That's kind of nice. Like, because Charlotte's had a bit of a rough go for the last several years, so I'm enjoying it. I think it's a lot easier to enjoy when she's out of the spotlight and doesn't feel like, here's Charlotte, she's at the tippy top of the card. Even if I think she should be, that's because I'm a traditionalist, and I think that's your biggest star sticker in the world title match. But I'm glad she's having a good time.
She does seem to be enjoying this run, and I don't know how long it's going to go, but I'm down for it. I think that it's something better than just keeping it on Raquel and Roxanne, because realistically speaking, I don't think that they were really going to be doing all that much. It's weird that they didn't like do anything more with that story on this episode of Morale, though. Like, it wasn't like, okay, well, now we're really pissed at Roxanne in a different way, and
no, it was just sort of like, she's a member of the group. We'll get him next time, champ.
Yeah. So, yeah. Maybe something more on SmackDown tonight. I don't know. Dominic Mysterio beat Dragon Lee. There are 3 people dressed up as El Grande Americano now.
What is this? Pete Dunne's really doing it. Like,
yeah, Pete Dunne, Ludwig Kaiser, different masks too. So,
yeah, that's why I said like go to see El Grande Americano Dos, like because it's a completely different mask.
El Grande Americanos are it's a thing. And Nikki Bella interrupted Becky Lynch, tried to get an IC title shot, didn't get the chance to do that because Becky was being like, John Cena, and then like punched her.
All right, and this is one couple. Speaking of Nikki and John, where I think that they both do it to both former participants way too much. They bring up Nikki to John way too much. They bring up John to Nikki way too much. For me, I think they should just move on. But this makes sense to me. Nikki versus Becky would be a big match for the IC title.
Now, I'm assuming that that's going to happen at Clash in Paris, but so far that's not confirmed. Becky Lynch is going to fight Maxine Dupree next week instead, because Natty came up backstage and all mad, and then she's like, all right, I'll have a match with you. But by you, I mean not you. I mean Maxine. This was a very run-of-the-mill episode of Raw that I felt kind of checked off some of the typical boxes of a post-SummerSlam or post-major pay-per-view thing, where they're like, all right, we're just going to wrap up some stories. We're going to take it easy this week, and then next week we're going to start some other stories. And, you know.
One of my other problems with the Lesnar thing was like, in what other era would you be making people wait till Friday for a follow-up on the biggest thing to come out of your pay-per-view? It's Brooklyn. You can't get John or Brock to show up in Brooklyn and just be like, that's another thing. I'm not looking forward to the Brock Lesnar promos without Paul Heyman, but
maybe we'll get some more of his voice cracks. Let's do this.
like you couldn't get Brock to show up and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna wreck shit or whatever. Just follow it up on Raw instead of just this constant dragging out, this constant we'll save that for Friday, because I'll tell you right now, John Cena's opening SmackDown. It'll be a 3-minute promo about Brock Lesnar. You know, you're one of my toughest opponents. If you want some, come get some. And then you won't hear about it for another 3 weeks. And they'll be like, oh, by the way, it's happening in Paris.
I love that you said it's a 3-minute promo. That's taking 20 minutes.
The talking portion will be 3 minutes. The entrance and everything else will be 20.
Like, I know I'm not going to have to start watching SmackDown tonight until at least like 8:11 or so.
No, you don't watch, because sometimes I message you and you just don't answer me, and I just assume it's because you're not watching.
Admittedly, usually it's because I'm not, because it's usually like, all right, well, this match is not going to be worthwhile. I can watch a 2-hour episode of SmackDown with my eyes on the screen for about 25 minutes of it. The rest of it's by audio.
Crazy.
Kind of speed running this, but that's okay. NXT. Kalani Jordan beat Blake Monroe by count out because Jordan Grace got into the mix and chased her off.
What this taught me was just how small the performance center is, that she was able to open up the back door, and it was just like,
it's tiny.
That's literally the parking lot.
Like that, when I went there was a year? No, almost a year ago.
It was almost 2 years.
Jesus Christ, it's almost been a year.
It must have been 2.
No.
Yes. That's when you came to my house. Yes.
That was the same time? I thought it was the other trip. I thought it was last year.
I'm sure it was the same trip.
No, I think it was this last time. I think it was this past November, December. Either way. It's tiny. It's super tiny. Like, I didn't get I didn't go inside the building or anything like that. But when I was pulling up to the parking lot, I was like, wait, this is it? Like, this would be at least like 4 times bigger, because it just seems bigger. They film it better. So yeah, you pretty much can just like, the parking lot that I was in, it's got enough room for like 5 cars. That's like it. So maybe it is super easy to get jumped back in that parking lot or whatever. Hank and Tank retained over Chase U. Dark State took everybody out. Dark State popped up again a little later on. It's a backstage segment. JC Jane complaining about the Jada Parker not getting taken out element of things and forcing Jasmine Nix to shine up her belt by Lainey Reed being the one that's like, shouldn't she do that? I don't know why Lainey Reed needed to be the one that said that. I didn't watch Impact, but I'm assuming, of course, that JC Jane did not lose that title to Ash by Elegance.
No, she did not.
Surprise,
it was
surprise.
An immediate disqualification, and everybody started fighting, and then the Inspiration came out, and then Fatal Influence came out. They're going to be challenging for the TNA Knockouts tag titles, so they might actually win. We'll get more into that. I think next week is Emergence, so we'll probably do that on the
Hot tag. Miles Bourne beat Lexus King. Nia Jax beat Thea Hale. Heat Wave, we got a confirmation. Blake Monroe against Jordan Grace from Ava, who was like, on behalf of other women. I think that what she said was pretty gross, so go kick her ass. Which I like that they at least did that. Still don't really love this, but.
And that was also like a shocking, like, real moment. You know what I mean? Like, WWE doesn't do a lot of those. Like, I'm going to be completely unbiased here. Yeah, she's a bitch. Go kick her ass. Okay, cool. Like, I like that.
Obafemi came out. The usual Who's My Next Challenger. Trick Williams follows. Javon Evans follows. Moose follows. We got Dark State following. This is all coming around to, in next week's episode, Moose, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Obafemi are going to fight Dark State. Finally, a fucking 4-on-4 match for Dark State. Took them like 11 attempts to not go triple threat, or not triple threat, a 6-man tag. Dark State's also going to have 2 of their members fight for the tag titles at Heat Wave. And next week, or not next week, the week after next, Trick Williams versus Javon Evans. The winner goes to fight Obafemi, so I'm assuming that it's going to be a triple threat. And Another thing that happened when it came to Dark State was a promo that was backstage where Cutler James is just like Saquon Sugars is cutting a semi-decent promo about how you guys all think that what do you think, that it was the culling that attacked backstage? No, we're the people that are doing all this, whatever. And Cutler James is like, yeah, we're gonna be right up your butts. It's like,
we're on your butt. We're right up your butt. It's like, okay.
What a quick way to be like, man, I need to get out of this stable. They need to take me out.
See, I don't know who that dude is because obviously I don't watch NXT, but sounds like to me like he could use a gaycation.
He's the white guy of the group.
Yeah.
Who was on LFG and had no personality on LFG, which was like the story was you have no personality.
Ah, no wonder he's the one that got called up. Right.
You think that's how they got him recruited to Dark State? What? Listen, you must submit to Dark State or you will be destroyed.
So it's funny that was like a thing where it's like, this can't be real. And like, I missed that part of the promo. And I was like, I mean, it's gotta be fake. And then I went back and looked on the Twitter and I'm like, nah, never mind. Okay, he is just like right up your butts. Like, what the heck? Another quick thing with Ariana Grace and Stax backstage where she was just, fawning over him and he was like reiterating, I'm just Stax now. So somebody reached a point where they got tired of typing out chanting Stax Lorenzo.
That somebody was me.
I felt like for the longest time, I was like one of the only people on the internet that was doing that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do that for every time because I'm one of those, I use M dashes when people think I'm using ChatGPT. I'll use full names for people,
Yeah, I don't like that. Just because you use the dash, it's like, oh, that's an AI thing. Well, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. It's proper grammar. And so Wago reaching out to me the other day being like, I got a grabber question for Tony. If you're referring to what a plaque is written down, should it have one quotation mark or two or whatever. But nerd alert. Ethan Page cut a promo about how much better, of course, Canada is the United States. Tavion Heights interrupted, and then Chelsea Green and the Secret Harvest interrupted as well for Chelsea to be like, I'm Canadian, and the two people next to me aren't, but
this made no sense. She just came out like, fuck you. He's Canadian, I'm Canadian, and I'm telling you now that you suck because you're picking on a Canadian. Like,
and Heights was like, you're right, I don't have the balls to hit you, but I'll find a woman that does. And then they didn't announce anything. So next week, we're probably going to get some kind of a mixed tag team match, but we don't know with who yet. So I don't know if it's like Tavion and Ren, which would seem to make the most sense because they do still have a connection, or if it's Tavion and like Lola Vice or something, probably no, I don't know.
Joe Hendry came out of a fridge.
That was going to be the next thing I was going to mention. Ren Sinclair did have a backstage segment where we were talking about Tavion Heights, and Charlie Dempsey was just like, moping around. I lost 2 members of the No Quarter Catch crew, and Ren Sinclair's idea of cheering him up was to sing Joe Hendry's theme. So Joe Hendry popped out of the fridge that was behind her. And that turned into, well, the only thing that makes Charlie or Charles happy is wrestling. So why don't you fight him? It's just like, what a terrible friend. It's like, man, I'm really sad that I lost these 2 matches against our 2 teammates. Here's this guy you find annoying. Maybe he could beat you up.
Listen, sometimes friends know what friends need, and he needs to wrestle and probably lose.
I liked the fridge bit. I haven't seen all of those things from TNA. I know that they've been doing that for a while where people would just, say his name and he appears and all that. So it's not like this is like a brand new idea that WWE should be getting credit for. They certainly are not.
I just like the idea of somebody's going, what can he pop out of? Hey, Joe, can you fit in the fridge?
Right. Let's take everything out of the fridge so Joe Hendry can go in there for a couple of seconds. So I like that little segment. We're going to get a tag team match next week. Fallon Henley and JC Jane against Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice because...
Why is Kalani babyface again?
That had like a couple of months where she was just like, I'm gonna be a bitch, but I'm not gonna fully turn heel, and then I'm just not gonna be a bitch anymore. It's very strange. Jasmine Nix is all like mad about shining up the belt, so she booked that. This
and
perpetual.
why is Laney Reed the one who called JC the most beautiful champion? Now, like, hey, can I like help be in your group? Shouldn't Jasmine shine your belt while I help you?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Do you think it's gonna end with Laney being a part of that?
I think she's gonna try.
Because she doesn't seem like she would be as good of a fit for me.
No, I don't think so. But
Like,
she's
different
clearly
characters.
angling for that.
Yeah. And what else we got? Ricky Sainz versus Jasper Troy is happening next week. Soul Ricker retained the women's North American title over Tatum Paxley. Lash Legend and Nia Jax were fighting again. It was like 4 different segments with that. They're gonna have a match next week. It was one of those crazy busy episodes of NXT where it was just like a bombardment of things were happening. And I think a much better show overall than Monday Night Raw was, given the two.
Which isn't saying much, but it's still not great when this iteration of NXT outranks your main roster in terms of entertainment.
Yeah. Moving over to the AEW side of things, here's a story that came out before Dynamite. There are a bunch of reports that the Hurt Syndicate do not want to lose to anybody. And then it was, well, it's not that they don't want to lose to anybody, it's that they didn't want to lose to almost anybody. And that MVP has issues, particularly with Speedball Mike Bailey. They recorded a video making fun of the whole, BS internet rumor thing where I thought it was pretty funny. The MVP goes up to Speedball and he's just like, fuck you, Speedball. And then, go ahead and say it for the other guys. And like Shelton Benjamin or whatever, their heads down, just, yeah, fuck you, Speedball. Like being told to say that or whatever. Whether or not there actually is something to the idea about refusing to lose the talent, I mean, I believe it as much as it's a possibility. And I also believe a lot of people make bullshit up and it might not be true at all. They could very easily just not have been scheduled to lose. Maybe they're not assholes. Or maybe they're complete fucking dicks. I don't know. I don't know those people. I've never met them. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I think that, so there's different interpretations taken. Obviously, we don't know what's happening explicitly behind the scenes. I've heard at least the reports suggesting that it's not really the Hurt Syndicate. If it's anyone, it's MVP. So he's the representative of the Hurt Syndicate, their manager, their mouthpiece. From all kind of accounts, he's a vocal guy. He speaks his mind. So would I be surprised if he's rubbed a few people up the wrong way, or he's made claims about who should and shouldn't be beating the Hurt Syndicate? I'm probably pretty sure he has, because I think he goes to bat for his guys. And yeah, that is going to rub some people the wrong way if they're not willing to do quote-unquote business with certain people. But at the end of the day, Tony Khan calls the shots, so he decides if they're going to lose the title to someone, then they're going to lose the title to someone, realistically. I think that even if the reports are suggesting things like, FTR aren't going to be, like, they don't want to drop the titles to FTR, they're pitching for the idea of not dropping the titles to FTR, they're going to drop the titles to FTR because that's where the obvious story is heading. So, yeah, I to be honest, and I know this is going to sound as like, the AEW guy on the panel being super conspiracy theorist, I think that at a time and place where there's a significant amount of bad PR thrown against WWE for recent events, and especially over the event SummerSlam, it seems pretty strategic to me that they try and put out a story like this, especially hours before Dynamite, to try and roll people up. In the day leading up to an episode of Dynamite, to try and roll people up. This report is the one that gets put out there, that there's issues backstage between MVP or the Hurt Syndicate and other talent.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Yeah, Callum, I love you to pieces. I don't think WWE put this story out. I just think
I'm not saying they put it out. I'm saying that, I don't think it's. I might just be entirely wrong, and I might just be, as they speculate, but it seems convenient to me that this story comes out at this moment in time. Like, surely if that's the case, like, we would have known about it for a little while, or there would have been other inklings. Like, why is it this week, or why is it like before that episode of Dynamite, or after certain things have been said that this story comes out.
I did find it interesting because I had mentioned on this podcast and just to you guys, like, the Hurt Syndicate were starting to feel like one of those WWE acts that were just not fond of losing in AEW, kind of like Black and Miro and whoever.
Andrade and
Andrade, yeah, like they all seem to kind of have
supposedly,
the vibe
allegedly, blah blah blah. Yeah.
they all seem to kind of have these rumors around them that they didn't want to lose, and that the Hurt Syndicate was starting to feel like that. So when I heard that, I was like, "That's interesting." And then I heard that specifically the MVP having problems part. I also felt like, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. But I think kudos to all involved for being able to immediately turn it into content and doing the whole, fuck you, Speedball. I thought that was very funny, which shows, hey, even if there is beef, they're adults. They're human beings, and they know how to not be dramatic about everything.
And it could always be one of those things where both stories are true. It's just at different levels. Maybe they did say, I don't want to lose the tag titles to this team. And then that team goes and bitches and complains and goes, oh, they don't want to lose to anybody, including me. And then that spins into another thing, a Purple Monkey Dishwasher type of moment. 10 points if you get the reference. And, it could be a matter of like, yeah, we have no problem dropping the belt to this one or that one or that one or that one or that one. It was just these motherfuckers we don't, and they could be the motherfuckers, Sometimes you might think somebody else is a dick and you're the one that actually is the problem. Or it could just be, maybe they don't want to lose. Maybe it is a thing of like, it's ridiculous that Bobby Lashley is a tag team guy and he should be fighting for the world title and all these other reports that like that could be something happening. Or maybe they're like, no, we're perfectly fine being in the tag team. This is fun.
Well, to that point though, they did kind of set up the idea on Dynamite of MVP officially being the last one to tell Max you're out of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then say, oh, and I hope you don't win the title because I do care about you. And I'm telling you, if you win, Bobby Lashley's coming for the world title. And I'm like, trying to get me excited about Lashley versus MJF for the AEW world title when Hangman is the champion? No, thank you. For me, personally, no, thank you. Like, I'm good with Hangman being champion for a while.
Yeah, the projection into the future for that, I don't anticipate is going to be happening particularly soon, but could be. I don't know. Fuck Shelton though, right? It's like Bobby Lashley's going to go for that title.
I didn't like that either, where it was just like, hey, not Shelton, who deserves to be world champion at least once in his career. Bobby Lashley will go after your AEW world title.
Well, maybe somebody has issues with Speedball. Could be John Moxley. He beat him, at least. That's a joke. I don't think that they have any issues for anybody who's fucking curious. Next week, Moxley's going to fight Kevin Knight. But in the meantime, he also has Darby Allin to worry about because Darby Allin almost ran over Wheeler Yuta and put out a challenge for Forbidden Door, which hasn't been accepted yet. So maybe it's some kind of a gimmick match. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just singles John Moxley versus Darby Allin. No gimmick attached to it, whatever. Generally speaking, what do you guys think about this near vehicular manslaughter moment?
Wheeler
feels like another Wednesday night.
Yeah, I mean, for Darby, especially, like, I say this with all the love for both competitors in my heart that I have. Is anyone fucking interested in seeing Darby versus Moxley in a match that doesn't involve, hey, somebody could die? Like, that's kind of their specialty. It's like saying, hey, do you want to see, Mick Foley and Terry Funk in a barbed match? Or do you want to see them in a respectful 2 out of 3 falls, catch as catch can spectacular? Like, I think you want to see them try to kill each other.
Yeah, I think that if the match is accepted for Forbidden Door, it's going to have... If it's just a traditional match, I think it's just going to end I say prematurely with some kind of like disqualification, or they'll just fight around the arena rather than actually have the match. I think it's just a first. What I imagine is the match that we see on Forbidden Door, whether you call it a match or whatever, is going to be just a glimpse into what a future match at All Out will probably be, or maybe even further along the line than that. I think that we're still far away from this feud being finished with one match. So
yeah, I think it'd be a little weird if at Forbidden Door that's just the big blow off, and then we just move on between both teams.
Yeah. Also, like, I guess we'll mention it with other things as well, but like Forbidden Door is looking like a very AEW show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's not at all looking like Forbidden Door.
I wish it wasn't called that.
It's one of the issues is that it kind of, the reason why I think more than anything else, obviously there's the G1 going on, which means that there hasn't really been any opportunity for New Japan people for this. I'm surprised that there isn't more involvement from either Stardom or CMLL just yet. I think it depends on what happens when we get like talk about like MJF and Hangman and what the plan is for that. I'm surprised that it's not MJF and Mystico.
Yeah,
in a one-on-one match have been door, but I think there's still possible. Yeah, because I guess that is a news story as well that MJF won the CMLL Light Heavyweight Championship. They're referring to it as the CMLL World Championship, but there is a reason for that, not just trying to make it sound bigger than it actually is. It's the fact that in CMLL there is no World Championship. Championships are dictated by weight classes. So the fact that he's the light heavyweight champion means that he's no less significant in their eyes to the world heavyweight champion. It just means that he fits into a different weight class.
It's the same as like flyweight, featherweight, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
You're
so
not like lower than the heavyweight.
Yeah, the championship's like importance is based on the star power of the person holding it. So that would be the title that Mystico would have typically held. So if he was the biggest star in CMLL, that means the light heavyweight championship is your, I guess, your in other people's eyes, your de facto world championship, but it's your most important title. So that's why they're referring to it as he's the CMLL world champion, because technically he is, because if you hold any title in CMLL, you are a world champion.
Does he qualify to be a light heavyweight?
Based on their standards, yes. MJF isn't like massive. I think that's basically the case with a lot of AEW talent. It's like he's a big guy for AEW standpoint, but he's not like a huge guy. He's pretty small in the grand scheme of things. Like I don't know what their limits are for like world championship, like that sort of championship. He's billed at like 226 pounds. Which, by WWE standards back in the day, 220 pounds was cruiserweight level. So, if he's at that level, then I imagine they'd fit into a light heavyweight. Yeah, 205, yeah. Well, to say he's like 20 pounds heavier than that. Which is, you know, by certain people's metrics, a large margin, but I think it would still definitely fit him into a light heavyweight territory.
Yeah, I'm at least anticipating that match is going to get announced. It's just... yeah, waiting until whenever they pull the trigger on that. But we do have at least one element of the TBS title sorted out. The AEW side of it, of course, with Alex Windsor beating Billy Stark, Queen Aminata, and Sky Blue. And we don't know the CMLL or the Stardom woman that'll be in the match, but it's 4-way. So you get 2 Forbidden Door people in there.
So this is another difficult thing because obviously the CMLL one's going to be easy enough to decide because they can just host, whether they do another 4-way or some sort of qualifier match to determine who's going to take it, that's fine. Stardom at the moment are running their equivalent of the G1. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It just escaped me now. But they're the 5-star Grand Prix, yeah. And yeah, so I don't know how they're going to find the time or the person they're going to send over to do that in the middle of this tournament. Because it started even after the G1 started, so they're right, and it's got even more people in it than the G1. So I wonder who they will be sending and how they'll find the time or capacity to do that. Shuri's said that she's going out with surgery. So,
right. Because another one of those people who got injured in the whatchamacallit, in the casino thing, right?
well, she said she was carrying the injury beforehand, but
Ah.
she went to do the big payday and then is going to take surgery and take a bit of time out. So, yeah, I don't know who they'll pick. Like, there's plenty of great options over in Stardom, so they can't really go wrong. But I'm just wondering how they're going to fit it within the schedule that they currently have, which is pretty hectic. This is it's a sign that maybe, well, we know that next year when All In goes back to August time to fit with the UK side of things, because now this show's been in the UK, it means that Forbidden Door will likely switch back to June, July time, and then All In will be back in August. So yeah, maybe it's a sign that probably shouldn't be doing a show that should be featuring New Japan and Stardom talent at the time of year where they have their biggest tournaments biggest tournaments and events of the year. So yeah, it's maybe a lesson for moving forward. Just the circumstances made it impossible for them to do it otherwise, but by all accounts, at least the Forbidden Door tickets are doing well, so it should be an interesting atmosphere to be involved in.
Hey, dude, I am a believer in, hey, you don't need to do Forbidden Door every year. If you see it's not working, call it something else.
Or just shift it to another time of the year again. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they just want it as the representation of, we're still all together and we're all doing this, but I think
if you're all doing it, is it still a Forbidden Door?
Yeah, it's not quite forbidden anymore.
It's just a name. It's just a name at that point. It's got the legacy attached to it.
I guess what happens in the Forbidden Door stays in the Forbidden Door.
And we carried on with a couple other things throughout this episode. We got the Don Callis family stuff, which I thought was pretty funny. Don Callis comes out there and presents an oil painting to Kyle Fletcher, and the oil painting is the two of them essentially entirely naked with they're both completely jacked. Don Callis, of course, doesn't have that kind of physique, and that's what's part of the funny of the whole thing.
That's a Don Callis trademark. He's done that with both Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho in the past, so it's like we know this is a thing that he does.
He made sure that he had an oil painting made for his next big guy. And Fletcher, cut a promo about, I'm going to be champion for a very, very, very long time. And he's going to have a title defense on Collision. So Tomohiro Ishii is going to lose.
Yeah, that was a great, just a Twitter clip going around of like this digital exclusive of Willow Nightingale kind of promo on Tomohiro Ishii's behalf. That was fun. It's like a nice little comedy act between those two.
Big time.
Then there was the tag title eliminator match. Brody, they beat the Young Bucks, as I think we were expecting based on FTR's victory in the previous round. Match was one of the best tag matches they've done of the year, which is saying something because they've had some really good ones this year. But I really like the Brodido tag team. I think they really... It doesn't look like it should work, but it really does. Like, the fact that King has such a great base for Bandito to do a lot of his stuff off of, and I love the monkey flip into the 450 splash finisher they've got going. I love the continuation of the Max and Jeremy Buck, one firework going off, the wall not coming up for their entrance. Like, all this then spiraling, no longer being EVPs and being poor and being forced to this like ritual humiliation is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad the world is coming around on Max and Jeremy Buck. I was a fan of them 15 years ago.
Yeah, I did like that whole setup of they handed the card to Justin Roberts, and then Justin Roberts just reads the card and it's like, hey, you need to introduce us, like we're not jobbers or whatever. Like, I thought that was funny. What else? Alicia 2. Stokely is going to fight Cope.
And Copeland. Yep.
The random shot at Beth Phoenix's head shape. That was.
Yeah,
I forget what he had said.
He cut one of the best promos of all time. Adam Copeland thinks he's never been in a fight, but he's short, he's bald, and he can't get any hose. He's been fighting his whole life. And say what you will, but I think that speaks to people. Okay, like.
To some people, he's a pure babyface now because they're like.
Yeah, I mean,
they're like same.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's relatable.
Absolutely.
So Swerve came out to do a promo to hype the match for Okada, which does feel like a pretty big deal. So, and like the fact that they just like building that up pretty naturally. They had this backstage segment after Queen Owenata lost, where she was with Willow Nightingale, and then Chris Statlander came and threw confetti over the place. So she's clearly having a breakdown for some reason. So.
Once they get those tag titles sorted,
yeah.
Willow and Stat are going to be great.
Yeah. And then the main event was MJF beat Mark Briscoe, but Mark had his foot on the ropes when MJF covered him. The referee didn't see it. MJF moved his leg off the rope to make sure the referee, when his back turned, so he didn't see the foot and reversed the decision. So, yeah, there's contention surrounding that. So I imagine there'll be a rematch down the line. They had MJF beat up Briscoe, and then Hangman came out and he fought through security to attack Max. And so yeah, they're going to do a face-to-face between Hangman and MJF next week. I don't believe that's going to set up a match for Bindor, but they might decide to do that. But as I think this is the feud that's going to carry on from, like, going to happen sporadically between the end of this year and going into next year. So I think there's going to be a lot of interaction, a lot of... It looks like it's about to happen, but it's not quite happening yet before we see a title change if and when it happens.
I think at the earliest it should be All Out. I hope it doesn't get set up for Forbidden Door, but they are doing a face-to-face next week, so it feels like that might be where they're going.
I think they could tell a story of like... Hangman says to MJF, listen, I'm going to give you a shot for Forbidden Door, but this is your one and only shot until you, unless you decide to cash in that contract at any point in time. So you get your one opportunity, because that's the whole thing that MJF's been saying, is that he wants to beat Hangman without having to use the briefcase. I keep saying that because the cash in thing, having to use the contract. So maybe if Hangman says you get your one shot, and if you lose that, then you're going to have to use that contract. Otherwise, you're not getting another opportunity at my belt. So there's a route they could go down there, but I think the likelihood is they're going to do some more stuff between Briscoe and MJF. I think the Mystico thing's still going on because that's still bubbling in the background. I think they did a thing after the Ring of Honor tapings when Mystico had a match, and then they had MJF attack him after the bell as well. So they're not ending that story either. But there's a good chance that story is just taking place in CMLL, and they're just using like AEW or Ring of Honor shows to help build it up. I would be surprised if they allowed that match to take place at Bindor rather than happen at Arena Mexico instead. So.
And actually, was there anything else that happened on AEW?
Nothing else of any significance, I don't believe.
I'm just double checking again right now. The collision matches that were announced and everything like that. Like, it's pretty run of the mill stuff. Same as how, like, stuff for Raw next week, whatever.
Yeah, just steadily building stuff up. Yeah.
There is, though, the big story for us to talk about, wrap up this podcast with, the WWE ESPN deal. So the deal with Peacock ends in March, I believe, of 2026. And that means that WrestleMania 42 is going to be the first event that's going to be broadcasted into the new setup, which is going to be on ESPN. And they did a piss poor job in trying to explain this, because as has been the case with a lot of things with the streaming bubble breaking, they don't know what the fuck they're doing for a lot of this. And I still keep coming across different contradictory things too. So I can't even begin to be like, okay, well then let me tell you exactly what's happening, because I'm sure I don't know in some fashion what they're doing too. But it seems to be, from what I've gathered so far, that Disney and Hulu felt the urge to merge, hashtag, and finally realized that it's stupid to have Hulu and Disney and ESPN all separate, and are going to merge Hulu with Disney Plus, reconfigure that. The dumb thing about it is they're probably going to up the prices because everything just constantly gets upped. And nobody in the world seems to understand that when you're in a Great Depression, recession type stuff, that people have less money to go around. I don't know where all this money is going. Hint, hint. It's going to the people that are in charge. And that's why they're doing these things. But the seeming plan for ESPN is that ESPN Plus is either going away, or it's being restructured, or it's being combined and restructured and going away all at the same time, where they're trying to convince people to stick with cable. And the death of the streaming services is all because everybody's like, well, why don't we just keep cable if everything is just $10 a month for this and $12 a month for that and $16 for that and $22 for this? If you do not have any access to any of the ESPN stuff elsewhere, it's going to be $30 a month, which is a big ask for the people that were like spending $8 or $10 a month for Peacock to spend 3 times that much. Because the real linchpin of this whole thing is, if you have Charter or YouTube TV or Xfinity or DirecTV, or like the cable people, can get this for free because that'll be packaged in with the cable deals. Now that could very easily change as well. And that could be the type of thing that in the next couple months, we just start getting things like, I have Spectrum here in New York, and that could just be like, yeah, you know what? We're actually not going to cover ESPN anymore going forward, or we're only going to cover like what they do with Peacock. Peacock right now, for me, for anybody who's curious, I pay for the Premium Plus add-on, but I don't pay for the premium part because that's rolled into my, well, I do pay, but it's rolled into my cable bill. Now, I redid that in May, specifically in mind with, you know, the whole, hey, I'm going to try to keep this for the next year. And then they announced this thing. So that's a little annoying. But it's, again, the runaround of how many times do you have to switch up between, if you want to watch Raw, you have to have Netflix. If you want to watch NXT, you have to have the CW, which means that you need to have cable or some kind of Sling TV or something that offers that. And if you want to watch SmackDown, you have to have cable because that's USA. Now, the Peacock element of it, those are the pay-per-views, but not the pay-per-views if you're outside of the United States, because that's Netflix. But also if you're on a Saturday night's main event, that's on Peacock. That's also on USA. I don't know how the Saturday night's main event is going to work, if that's going to be on Peacock or if that's going to only be on USA, because I don't think that they've announced that yet. Or if that's going to be on ESPN.
What?
Or,
What?
You know.
Why would Saturday night's main event be on USA?
Or not USA, NBC.
Yeah,
I meant to say.
It's still an NBC thing. Remember, that was a separate deal. That was a Universal deal that WWE cut. So, like, they still get the quarterly specials, and the international people will just get it on YouTube like they've been doing.
So I'm assuming in that case scenario that Peacock is not going to have Saturday night's main event.
I imagine they still will because it's still a Universal property.
I mean, they could, maybe. Peacock's also upping their prices.
Yeah, and also remember this. This is the part that I want to talk about. There's zero home for, right now, the NXT PLEs. They don't have a home. They're not going to ESPN. The library catalog still has no home. I hate this. This is what I subscribe for. I don't want to go back to not being able to have access to every single SummerSlam, every single WrestleMania. Look, I'm sorry. It's been 11 years of easy access. You can't pull that from people and then have them go, oh, but it's okay because you're making more money. I hate that this thing people are doing where they're like capping for these companies. And they're like, yeah, but they're making so much. What the fuck do you care? It's not going to you. Why are you like, yeah, but it's okay because they're making money? I don't care. I want the content that I've been used to for 11 years. I don't care if they're making more money. I wish it was still WWE Network and it was a direct-to-consumer property for just wrestling fans. That's what I enjoyed. That was for me. Like, I don't want to have to get this new ESPN thing, which, by the way, is going to be $30 a month. Or maybe, $300 if you do it yearly. So you save 2 months free, I think that is.
Isn't that fucking insane?
It's still better than my biggest fear, which was going to be that they're going to do what the UFC does now, which is pay for the platform and then pay for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. It can't happen these days. You condition people to spend $9.99 and you're slowly getting higher up with that. Nick Khan's talking, oh, I really think that people are going to move over.
And by the way, what a dumbass remark. I think people are going to move over to where our pay-per-views are.
It's the second of two dumbass remarks from Nick Khan this week. The other one being, I don't fucking like when people say that they're tired. You should work 24/7. Fuck you,
I don't know.
dude.
I don't know. That one just made me go, oh, that's why Vince said, yeah, I'll hire you. You can be the guy who takes over, but I'm out of here. Because that was a straight Vince McMahon line. You should just work 24 hours a day? What? Like,
as somebody who basically works 24 hours a day, fuck that shit. Do not do that. Yeah, if I had the ability to not do it, I wouldn't.
I do the same thing, and I'm falling asleep while I'm working all the time. You know, like, it happens. You shouldn't be doing it. Don't do it. Don't be a weirdo.
Yeah, don't submit to this. Well, I'm going to keep calling them the regime. This regime of these horrible billionaires and terrible political people and all that. Really, it's class warfare, and they really want you to be subservient. They want you to happily be a slave, and everybody's got to fight it. So whether that's
don't submit to the regime, submit to the gaycation.
It's just a matter of like, you know, now they feel like they can say more of these things out loud and all, but like, I think that people will spend $30 when they've been conditioned to spend $10. You're going to find out very quickly that that's just going to result in, you know, if you don't get it for free, like, I'll be perfectly honest right now. If I end up not being able to get this for free through Spectrum, I don't know if I'm signing up for this. I don't know if I want to spend $30 a month to watch these pay-per-views where the pay-per-views are 3 hours of a pre-show where you give me commercials and then a 3-hour show that is riddled with commercials that I then have to do work for to earn the money back to pay for that. Because it's not like I'm going to break a little bit of the fourth wall here. It's not like we're earning that much money by working and doing these kind of things either. And like I had a discussion before when it came to AEW, when, you know, the reason the AEW stuff was different was like I was working for Bleacher Report, and it was like they were covering that because Bleacher Report was part of that. And it was like, yeah, I'm not spending $60 for these and getting paid $50 to write up my full, you know, hours and hours worth of coverage. I'm losing $10, you know, and working for a bunch of hours. Like, that's stupid. That's the type of thing that makes people not want to have that type of a job. And yeah, it's not WWE's fault to be like, well, then, you know, that's not their job to do that. But at the same time, you can't price yourself out of these markets. And there are people that are just going to password share, and there are people that are just going to stream, because the only reason why streaming went down for a couple of years was because Netflix was cheap and convenient.
I'll say this. Personally, Robert D. Felice, would never go back to the bootleg streams. I couldn't. After the 11 years of what we've been doing, I couldn't go back to like, oh, maybe this one will work. I can't do it. but you bet your ass that I'm the guy everybody goes to go, you have all these services, password share.
Yep.
That I'll do.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It'll just be a group of 5 people will get together. They'll all pitch in $5, and then there you go. And then when the companies go, well, now people are sharing, it's because they don't want to spend that much fucking money. It's like, it's as simple as it could be. Like, most of this world is not as fucking complicated. It's just people complicate it for bullshit. It's, again, going back to the same thing we mentioned earlier.
Cable, more entertainment, and you have flipped that to be way more money than cable and way less entertainment.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hear it.
Which would I rather have? Tasty food at a restaurant that gives me a big portion for cheap, or meh food that is not a whole lot and it's more expensive? I wonder why people aren't going to fucking Applebee's. You know what I mean? Or whatever it might be. Like, yeah, you can't have everything be just the people with all the money are the ones that control everything, and they're the ones that get all the benefits, and you just suck it up and deal with it. No. That's what the pitchforks are for. And Molotov cocktails. And whatever means that you have. If you have anything, you can go. If you have a screwdriver, if you
I didn't do all that. Like,
hoist that black flag, motherfucker. Wave that flag. So I don't know how ESPN's app works. I've never purchased ESPN in any fashion in my entire life for any purpose whatsoever. I've never been a fan of any kind of sports enough to want to have the ESPN channel. Let's put it this way. I never bought HBO. I never was like...
I believe that because you don't buy things.
I try to buy as little as I can. I try to save my money, yeah. And like... HBO's had plenty shows over the years that I would be like, man, I would really like to watch that show, but I'm not spending that much fucking money just to have one extra TV show channel. And I remember back when, back in the day, I'm talking from the old school generation where before we had remotes and we had to walk up and watch up and change the channel on the TV by just holding the button and moving it. I remember the big deal with satellite TV, and like a cousin of mine being like, oh my god, look at all these channels that I have, and it's only a couple $100 more per month or something, and me being like, Jesus Christ, that's so much fucking more expensive. You can't even watch all these shows. Do you really need a whole channel dedicated to home and shopping and garden and whatever? And then that explodes and it does whatever. But like, with every big bang, there's a big crunch, and these companies are starting to really feel it. So that's why you're seeing all the ad-supported tiers, and that's why you're seeing these, Apple.
Oh my god, let's talk about that. This thing gives them options for mid-match advertisements during the pay-per-views.
And it'll be like, well, if you want the ESPN whatever, then you can buy the ESPN Plus deal, the Plus Premium Gold package, Platinum Standard, which has less ads, but it still has ads, like that kind of shit. And then you could just watch, the whatever tiers they come up with, that they're still going to be promoting stuff on the show. So you're still going to watch ads. You're still going to be paying for them. You're going to pay them for them to sell ads to you. And you'll get some entertainment sprinkled in there. Which, by the way, there's no guarantee that entertainment's going to be entertaining, because the match could suck or the promo could be shit. So there's a reason why casinos make a lot of money. People are stupid with their money, and they go, I would spend $10 for the chance of maybe $8 being worth $7, that I could get 5 of that and then pay income tax on that and take home 4 and then spend that 4 on my taxes and gas and whatever, and I walk out with $1. But I didn't, and that $10 was wasted. So rubes, don't fucking fall for this shit. And I don't know if maybe ESPN's had a decent app, then maybe that's one thing, but $30 is asking a lot.
But that's another thing you have to remember. This is a brand new service.
Yeah, they're going to be retooling a lot of things. So is that going to have the same issue that we've had before with other things, where it's going to be another 4 months before we get the option of being able to rewind, like they did with Peacock? Or is it going to be like Netflix, where they were like, well, we're going to start off and it's going to be really piss poor quality and it's going to crap out a whole lot? Is it going to be that the library is going to be on ESPN immediately by the time, like, maybe they're negotiating that stuff now and they're going to migrate it over, and by April of next year they'll have everything? Or is it going to be, well, we have WrestleMania and that's it, and we're hoping that by SummerSlam of 2026 that we're going to have the other things, you know? We're in that time frame right now where they're very excited to talk about the stock price and the $1.6 billion they're going to get, but they can't actually tell any of the consumers, the direct to consumer people, what they will consume. It's a lot easier if you're in the UK and you got Netflix, right, Callum?
Yeah, I was saying, Callum's just sitting there like, what? I don't watch this shit.
It's doubly easy for me because I don't watch any WWE stuff anymore, so like I don't even need to worry about this stuff. Yeah, it's just part of my Netflix package already, which I'm gonna have regardless, so it doesn't matter one way or the other. So yeah, I can only pity you guys for having to switch things up yet again for a service that does not yet exist, and we don't know how the functionality or how effective it will end up being, especially considering the fact that their first show will seemingly be WrestleMania, which will be the most time that any of the shows ever watched. Like the first pay-per-view will be the most watched one they might ever have, and so see how it holds up on that side of things.
I will say this is their strategy. They do this. This is the third time they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The network started with Mania. Peacock started with Mania. So they're confident enough.
Didn't the network start with Rumble?
No, the network started with NXT.
Well, it started with NXT Arrival, but the first main roster pay-per-view was Mania 3.
The NXT thing was like the soft launch. Well, I mean, it's technically the hard launch of like, technically now it's active kind of a thing, but they were basically going, hey, WWE Network starts with WrestleMania, and let's test out some of this stuff and see if it works well with the NXT thing beforehand.
I think like the difference with Peacock was like it was a pre-existing service that had like measures in place. Like if this is a brand new thing, I don't imagine WrestleMania will be the first thing that's shown on it, but it'll be a new thing that they're still trying to work out bits and pieces for. But I guess considering it's ESPN, the one thing it should be well set up for is live streaming sports events. So you'd imagine they'd be able to get things right.
I would have more faith that ESPN would do this well without even using the ESPN app ever in any fashion than Peacock, just because of the fact that they have to have had so much more experience. Peacock was just coming with like, can we just have a Netflix where we just throw all the episodes of Friends on there and then people can just click on the episode and watch it? That's totally a different scenario than live streams. ESPN should have that figured out by now. So, I mean, I don't know. Then again, we're talking about the same world that HBO Max becomes Max and then it goes back to HBO at Max. And yet they felt the need to actually change the platform in the process to do that rather than to just be like, why don't we go in and change the code that the logo is different? It's really all you needed to do.
By the way, Warner Bros. And Discovery are splitting.
Yeah.
To create the two new companies known as Warner Bros. And Discovery.
Oh, and Peacock? Not Peacock. Paramount Plus. I had never used Paramount Plus until recently. It's garbage. Like, why do these people don't even know what did any of them use any of these things? I complain about WWE.com all the time. Like, WWE.com is pointless at this point for a lot of things. And if you were somebody working on the company and you go to WWE.com, you'd be like, I guess that's not how I'm supposed to get my fucking news, you know, WWE's own website. But like, did anybody that works on Peacock, or I keep wanting to say Peacock, anybody that ever worked on Paramount Plus, have you ever clicked on your fucking app? Because you don't have any indication that something is being selected in certain ways.
So I will say, ever since switching over to Frontier, or which is Fios, Verizon Fios, where you are, Tony, I have rolled everything into my cable bill. So like my HBO Max, I just get it through YouTube TV, which means I'm just watching most of it through YouTube. Way simpler. But I will say Paramount Plus was always my least favorite of the individual apps.
It's awful.
But you know, what are you gonna do? And by the way, Peacock, see you bye. Like
Yeah, I'm not.
never gonna. Yeah, like what?
I'm not going to be upset with having to. I mean, hopefully this is not the case, and it's not something just as bad or worse or something. When we're doing our finance tables, being like, oh, now it's cutting to black because you had to do a fucking fade to black for a commercial break or something, or like the bullshit with the seasons being like, let's try to watch SummerSlam 1992. That's season 3, episode 1 or something. They never got around to doing that in like 5 years. Say what you mean what you say. Good things are good, bad things are bad. It's all fucking simple. Why is everybody complicating this shit? And I don't want to spend $30 a month to watch a pay-per-view, especially if the app potentially sucks. And I think a lot of people are going to agree to that. And then the piracy goes up, and then people go, why aren't people willingly spending more money? Oh, it's because, that's how the world works. Jackass. And, I'm sure WWE will somehow fall ass backwards into making even more money because somehow this company just continues to do these weird decisions and then succeed. So I don't blame them for continuing to ride the wave of I'm terrible, but people are okay with it. And, I'm just waiting eagerly for that karma bomb to drop on a lot of things. If you think we had good karma, you think this is a good episode, you should karma bomb us by hitting the like button, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, getting those email alerts set up, doing all the good stuff that we had mentioned before. That was my quick plug for that. You already know what it is. But other hot tags or anything else about this ESPN thing you guys want to round out?
There's one thing I want to bring up real quick, and there's a rumor from Alvarez that John Cena's final match in December is probably going to be a Saturday Night's main event, and I don't like that. Like,
didn't they plan on doing this ruthless aggression thing?
Remember, though, they've hit their quota for pay-per-views.
Oh, that was also a weird thing about the ESPN thing. They were like specifically saying 10 PLEs.
Yeah, there will only be 10 PLEs per year now.
Which is the direct opposite of what they've been doing, which is to add more pay-per-views over time. And like over the course of, when it comes to, some of these things aren't pay-per-views. Some of these things are episodes of like special episode of NXT or something like that. But 4 Saturday nights main events that are basically pay-per-views, but they don't quite count. Royal Rumble, Vengeance Day, Elimination Chamber. The Hall of Fame ceremony doesn't really count, but how are they going to do that? That's curious. Maybe it's USA. I don't know. NXT Stand and Deliver. WrestleMania, 2 nights. Backlash. Battleground. Worlds Collide. That's YouTube. Maybe that doesn't count. Money in the Bank. Night of Champions. Great American Bash. Evolution. SummerSlam, 2 nights. Heat Wave. Clash in Paris. Crown Jewel. Survivor Series. That's already at 19. Not counting the other ones that don't really count. So you're just going to cut it in half?
No, I think you're overcounting, and I think they'll just be like, well, Saturday Night's main event doesn't count, NXT doesn't count. This is specifically main roster PLEs.
You think that they're just pretending like NXT is not a premium live event, even though it will be broadcasting the same thing and all?
They won't be broadcasting the same thing. It does not include NXT PLEs.
So where NXT PLE is going to be?
That is up in the air.
Oh my God, if they end up saying that you need to fucking subscribe to some other service, and it's like, well, if you want to watch NXT, you got to spend $10 or $15 a fucking month on something like that. It's not going to go well.
That's what but it is. That's the thing, is it is going well. Going very well for them.
I assumed that the NXT thing.
Nope. Not a part of this deal.
That's insane. I mean, it'd be really weird if they end up not having NXT pay-per-views.
I think they're just eager to split everything up and maximize profit.
I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, that is what's going on. And again, any other hot tags you guys got in mind?
I think we're pretty much covered.
Alrighty. Well, as usual, keep staying tuned to smarkoutmoment.com and the YouTube channel and everything. We did our mock draft recently, so we've got our rosters of our like super forbidden door where there was like 10 different companies that we were able to pick from. And I finished my card. I'm not particularly super thrilled with it, to be perfectly honest. I might try to change a couple things around. This was actually very difficult for me. Have you guys started working on yours yet?
Nope. I'm sure I will throw together the best damn thrown together card you ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that's a weekend Callum problem.
Well, stay tuned for that because next week we'll come back around to that. Probably also do a Darkcast next week. Got to figure that out for some plans about what to do. And if you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments below and let me know what you think about what you would like for the Darkcast. We could do one of those Darkcasts where we just kind of bullshit and talk about whatever. We could do one of those dedicated things where it's like a fan outs table or something, or a kind of like an offshoot main event separately. I don't know. Drop them comments. Tell us what you thought about these hot tags. Keep in mind as well all the Linktree stuff. If you want to follow Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, or myself, all the links are up on amangotree.com or anthonymango.com. And make sure that you're also following Rob and Callum.
Yep, follow me over at Dude Felice. And check out my work on Fightful.com. But check out what Callum Wiggins has going on because he's a cool guy.
Hey, thank you. I'd go on a vacation with you any day of the week.
Thank you.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Wigmaster14. Check out the Power Rankings every single Saturday over on Smark.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're over there, you can check out the Fantasy League, also at WWEFantasyLeague.com, where there's some trades been happening and points being picked up as we head towards Clash in Paris, which is the next big point scoring week for the WWE side of things. So check all that along, see who's running away with things right now. And just follow it along and leave your thoughts, if you have any thoughts of those, in the comments there. We'll check them out. And keep it going strong.
Okay, everyone. That's going to do us in for this episode of the Hot Tags. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for those comments. And we will see you next time around, probably with the fantasy booking side of things. Will most likely be the next podcast. So we'll see you then. Or in the past, if you go and check out another older episode in the meantime. And adios for now. This has been another Smark Out Moment. And we're being counted out.